Y'all, welcome to Interlude Podcast. We are back with another episode.
100% pure the oil.
Another one. Y'all know who it is, your boy Doe Dollar. Of course, I got my good brother, my co-host.
Links the Chef.
Links the Chef is in the building, and today we got a special guest came all the way out there, wait for us to talk about this really, really delicate topic with us. Tamela, how you doing? Thank you for coming.
Thank you for showing up.
Thank you for having me.
All right, hold on. We like to make some noise, just
Clap it up.
Clap it up. Warm the room up a little bit. Thank you for coming. And today's episode is a very much need to hear.
Very important
topic. Very important. We about to have fun with it and still, be able to give y'all some informative resources today. Tamela is a very, very, very special person to me that helped me deal with a situation, and I learned a lot from her in the process. She deals with life insurance. How
about let's let her introduce herself.
Okay, I like that idea.
Okay, well, my name is Tamela Lowery. I am a licensed insurance agent, and I what I primarily do is I assist families with building legacies for their families, their children. I also assist them in making sure that they have resources available, that they're informed and educated about insurance, the different types of insurance that there is, and just helping them, getting prepared also for end of life, because none of us are getting out of here alive, right? We ain't getting out of here alive.
That's the truth. That's how you put it.
And so, we just want to make sure that families are prepared, that legacies are in place, right? And that we just continue to start, that we're, starting the process of building and also rebuilding traditions within our community. That's important about leaving resources, leaving a legacy to our families, and also just making sure that they understand what to expect when that time comes, when our time comes, as it surely will, and just making sure that they're prepared for that process. So that's what I do primarily.
Okay.
And the name of my company is The Boss Group, and I'll be happy to give that information out a little bit later on in the podcast. But thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you for coming.
Because this is definitely a necessary topic for our community specifically.
Yes,
okay?
absolutely.
So I'm gonna do my best.
Thank you for coming.
To share.
Well, how long you been doing insurance?
So I've been in business to business financial services primarily my whole career, the last 30 years. But I came into insurance specifically in 2017 is when I started. And I was introduced to it by a good partner of mine, a good friend of mine, who came upon the opportunity a couple of years prior to me. And he introduced me to it. The company that, one of the companies that I work for, Lincoln Heritage, they specialize with final expense coverage. And so I started out with them. And it's a wonderful service, a wonderful product, definitely needed. And we'll talk more about that. But I've been with them now, primarily for the last 6 years. I've been with them.
Okay. And this, I don't know why I want to get this out. So how I met Tamela, to me, was just like, it was out the blue for me because I had no clue what the hell was going on. So I remember my grandfather, rest in peace, my grandfather called me, told me, hey, Roger, I need you to come over here at 7 o'clock. Don't be late. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, all right. So as I'm pulling up at 7 o'clock, I see somebody walking into my grandfather's house, and I'm like, excuse me, like, you lost? Like, How you doing?
No, he did. He thought I was cute.
Okay.
That's true. That's true. And mind you, I just came home, so I'm like, who the hell my grandfather got pulling up over here? So even though I asked him like, what's wrong at 7, like, what's going on at 7 o'clock? I just heard him say nothing. Like, you know, my insurance person is coming. Like, he ain't say agent.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? So even with the word insurance, it's not registering in my head. So I walk in the house behind her. And we introduced. She already know who I am. Like, this information from him he's giving it to her. So I'm not paying it no mind. I start playing in my phone. We sitting down at the table. I'm thinking they about to talk real quick, and then she'll leave, and he gonna talk to me about what he's about to talk to. So I just hear the conversation. You know, she pulled out her folders and stuff. I'm not paying they business no mind. So the first thing I think I heard was, when you die, this is you want to be put into.
We were talking about the details of what
Yeah, and
he
it caught me
wanted.
off guard because I'm in the phone and I'm like, what the hell you talking about, Dad? What are you talking about? Like, and she was like, this is why you here, Roger. How you doing? Like, so I'm like, what's going on? I'm lost. And he was like, this is what I want to happen. This is the stuff. And then she laid it all out. And I've been in contact with her ever since that day by phone directly. And,
Yes.
not to take up too much time, even when my grandfather time came, she was the first person I called, and she walked me through every step. So we're going to get to that too, just as far as the processes and everything. But this is how I met her 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago. She was in my grandfather's life. Everything that she said was going to happen as far as what happens as far as the policies and how to do what. And when it happened, contact me. She did it, and it made things very, very easier for me being a beneficiary. So.
Right. That's one of the things that I wanted to ask you. I know I'm here for y'all to ask me, but part of that process is, you know, I like to hear back from my policyholders and their families about the level of service that you received. I mean, how did you feel? You know, when that day came, I know how you felt, and I know what I heard. When you placed that phone call, you were very upset and you were confused. But how did you feel, you know, overall with the process? Like, when you called me, because you called me a couple of times even before he had passed away, just trying to get information, which is what families should do. You know, to get information about like payments and if the policy was active and up to date. And so that is what you're supposed to do. But also specifically, you know, how did you feel about the level of service that you received, not just from myself, but, you know, overall from the company?
I think for me, and it's just being honest, like a kid from Baltimore City that just dealt with so many letdowns and upsets, naturally, I think for me, I'm like, something's not going to go right. It's just, or, you know, it'd be crazy. A lot of times, people of our own kind, I know for me, I just think a person is going to get over.
Yeah.
That's my approach to a lot of things. I think before I give you a fair chance, I'm going to give myself the fair chance that you're going to get over. That's what I'm thinking first. So I am upset that I'm dealing with this with my grandfather, but I'm also confused that I have to deal with somebody else to make it happen.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of things like, you know, funeral expenses, burial, everything, you know, it came to about 13, 14,000 or something close up there, you know what I'm saying? And I have to deal with somebody else to make it happen. So,
and it's also it's like new to you because a lot of times you don't deal with people actually having insurance.
Exactly.
right.
So you just scrambling to try to figure it out yourself.
Right. And it was like, I'm glad I'm who I am because I had her direct number from day one.
Yeah.
So I didn't really have to dig through paper, which I probably would have, and they may not even put me on the phone with her right away. But by me having her contact, I'm able to get things done faster to me. I'm getting answers today. But I'm also confused, you know what I'm saying? You know, maybe she's busy or not picking up or not return the call fast enough. She deals with this every day. I'm panicking.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do. I'm waiting on her to call back, but she was really there. This is just my initial feeling, my approach at the moment. Going through it, I'm really thinking something is not going to work out right. You know what I'm saying?
So to your point, I'm glad that you brought that up because that's one of the things that I want to talk about today for the family, the listening audience. To Roger's point, that's exactly what my company does with regard to. That's one of the first areas that we'll talk about. It's called final expense insurance. That specifically, what we do is we assist families with putting funding in place, funeral funding. Okay, and I'll talk a little bit about the nuances between the different types of products, but what Roger is describing is most people don't know the process of arranging a funeral. When someone dies that's very close to you, you're confused. You're shocked, you're emotional, you're vulnerable. And so this particular product that his grandfather put in place for him is what's called burial coverage or final expense insurance. And with this product specifically, it's designed to leave money behind immediately for families because let's face it, funeral homes, they need to be paid pretty immediately, right, Roger?
Absolutely.
And so, they don't have any recourse. And so, you need to be able to pay these final expenses, which there's more than just funeral expenses. But let's just start there. Funeral expenses, burial costs, things like that. A traditional burial today is between $12,000 and $15,000. Families need to be able to come up with that relatively between 24 and 48 hours. Most families cannot, especially in our community, without it being a struggle.
Yeah.
So what are their options? They're either going to have the family meeting. We all know about the family meeting, right? That means someone died. We're having a family meeting, bring your checkbook or your cash card or whatever, right?
And it's crazy, just to add to what she's saying, right? I recently went to a funeral. A family member of mine had passed away. And the funeral was set. This is the funeral date. And when we get there, and this is another thing to y'all, make sure y'all get your insurance because nobody else cares except y'all.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Everybody deal with this every day. This funeral home had this in place off the agreement of the day of the funeral, they're going to get paid. The day we got there, which means that my relative had already been gone, deceased, for several days, maybe over a week or two, they said ain't no funeral. Like, we got all these people out front. Ain't no funeral, y'all.
So what happened? Well, let me kind of. You mind if I?
Yeah, go ahead.
Because your point, I'm going to speak to your point with that, and that's why it's so important about final expense coverage. Our particular company, we want to make sure that families are prepared, not just financially, but prepared for the emotional toll. So we don't want to just relieve a financial burden, but we also want to relieve that emotional burden that you was talking about with regard to your grandfather. And so this particular service allows families to also put their funeral wishes or their final wishes in place, whether it's going to be a cremation, whether they want a traditional burial, what kind of service do they want, who do they want to preach, what clothes do you want to wear, do you want a graveside service 24 hours? So we assist them in putting, and that's what Roger walked in on as I was talking to
that was
his
really
grandfather.
uncomfortable for me, though.
Right,
man.
and it is for most people.
It was uncomfortable.
I mean, I'm sure
But
it was
it's
uncomfortable
necessary.
for him too.
No, he was fine. He was, you know why? Because he was an older gentleman, right? So that speaks to mindsets, right, between the generations,
Yeah.
right?
I was
So
really uncomfortable.
Your mindset is, I'm not ready to be planning for this and all of that. But his mindset was, I need my family to be prepared, and that's our job, is to make sure that your family is prepared. Why?
I think I walked away crying too. Like,
yeah, you did.
I was upset.
I was
off guard and like,
Right.
I'm sorry to cut you off.
It's okay.
I had been gone so long and just, to the eye, my grandfather looked a healthy old man. I know he has complications, but I couldn't handle the conversation.
And y'all had just got like back in contact
That's
pretty
true.
recently too,
That's
right?
true.
Yeah, that's the crazy thing, man. I didn't grow up with my grandfather. I met him at one of his daughter, which is on Dottie funeral. Met him at the funeral. My
Yeah.
mother like, yo, this your father. I mean, your grandfather. And I swear, man, once I went to prison, he wrote me and we stayed in contact the way as though we knew each other through mail. And then when I came home, I just vowed to be a grandson. I ain't had no excuses on why he wasn't there, or how I feel. He wasn't in my life growing up. I didn't care about that. It was like, now that my mother was deceased, this was the closest thing I had to my mother. This is who created her. You know what I'm saying? So it was a blessing. It was beautiful. Them 3-4 years I got to spend with him every day, just being a grandson, just going in the house, being humble, letting him boss me around. Hey, clean that up, move that around, cause you know he older. He ain't saying nothing nice. You know what I mean? Move that damn chair for me. Like clean, sweep the floor. Like and I enjoyed it, man. I
Right.
never had it. You
Right.
know what I'm saying? So
And so for him to name him as the person that's going to be responsible for taking on and handling his final wishes, most people don't they don't really understand, how special that is
How important that is.
and how important it is. When my grandfather passed away, I tell people I was blessed to be with him as he took his last breath, and I was able to hold his hand and assist with sending him home properly, or his homegoing celebration. That's what this is about. And it makes it all the more special when you're prepared to do that. So we were putting his funeral plan in place, what he wanted. And Roger was the beneficiary of that. When he passed away, he knew exactly what it was that he wanted. He only really had to make one phone call and then call me. I came right away to find out where everything was in the process. But that is part of the service that Lincoln Heritage and the Boss Group, my agency, that is part of the service that we provide, and we want to help as many people get prepared for that, because again, none of us are getting out of here alive. We all have an appointment. This is part of the circle of life, and however smooth and easy we can make that process for families, that's what we're here to do. Okay, so
right.
that's final expense coverage. So that's one type of insurance.
So what would be like the age for that? Like if you wanted, like
Right.
where would you start at final expenses?
Right.
Like,
So final expense or burial coverage, really, that's a specific niche. That's really for people between the ages of 45 and 85 who either don't have any previous life insurance, may have had coverage through their job, but they lost their job, because a lot of times when you have coverage through your job, it is not you can't take it with you. When you leave the job or when you retire, it doesn't transfer with you, and so they may have had a term policy, which is temporary coverage over a specific amount of time, or they just never had any life insurance and now they're thinking about it, or maybe they want to leave a little bit extra behind for their family. So those are or someone who may have health conditions, pre-existing health conditions. My company can get you covered. So I just want to put that out there, that if anybody is out there, diabetes, cancer, heart attack, stroke, it doesn't matter. Give me a call, and we can certainly help to put some benefits and leave some benefits in place for your family, and help you put your plan in place. One of the great things about leaving your plan in place also is that it helps reduce expenses. When someone dies and you're emotional, a lot of times, unfortunately, funeral homes are playing on your emotions, right? So they are, they're a business. And if you don't have your funeral plan, we're not talking about a will. We're just talking about a simple funeral plan. You want a burial or cremation? How do you want your services to go? You really should have these things planned out for your family, because, as I like to tell my clients, this is your final love letter to your family. It's your final love letter. And also, this is your final party. So you get to plan it in advance how you want it to go. It's a celebration of your life.
It's
Okay?
crazy. You just said something that just made me think of another situation that I dealt with, and I'm sure a lot of people don't know this. Right when you said funeral homes, they prey on your emotions at the moment. They even talk to you with so much sympathy,
Yeah.
as if they care, but you got to understand they run the business. What I learned about this is that a lot of stuff you could do yourself, right, with a funeral home. A funeral home do not have caskets. They have some to show you, but they order it. Now, this is the craziest shit I ever seen, bro.
Who'd you learn that from?
I'm not sure. You might have been the one. I really can't. I know. I remember the person that we was dealing with who passed away, but I may have got it from you. The casket that they're showing you in their book is for their price, but they have to order it. If you look in the funeral home book and look at the number of the casket, you can go on Amazon and order the casket that they're going to order for $700 more. They're charging you $700
Or more.
for a casket that costs $300. They're charging you $1,500. So when you go through the book and you in the funeral home and you like, okay, I like model such and such, you can say, look, hold on, I'm going to order the casket and have it sent to y'all. Because going through them, it's a whole $1,000 more.
Yeah.
And I never knew that, and it really worked. If I did learn it from Tamela, one of my friends lost somebody, and I was close to them, helping them with the planning, helping them get the stuff situated. And that's what we did. We paid for the funeral, paid for the casket, went in there. They pull out this big book of flower. Every single thing that you want to use through this funeral, it has a markup number.
Yeah.
And you already struggling and dealing with trying to get through the situation. And you got a funeral home, which is a business, trying to run a business and feed their family, marking these numbers up to like the craziest shit I ever seen, man.
I mean, it's a business. They have overhead, which I can understand that. But at the same time, a lot of things, again, that's why it's important to have your plan in place. Know what it is that you want. Know what it is that you want your family to do. Who are your pallbearers? Who are people to notify? These are things that we can all help. Well, my company can help families. Just like I said, make things go smooth and easy for the loved ones that are going to be left behind to deal with this, and make it more of a celebration, and help them ease a financial burden, and also, an emotional burden. One of the great things too about this particular final expense or burial policy is that, again, funeral homes and cemeteries and things, they need to be paid pretty immediately. And this particular policy, unlike other traditional life insurance, which you have to submit claims paperwork, death certificates, all of those
I had
things,
to do
right?
that.
But the first thing is you gotta, before you can get those things, you have to either bury or cremate your loved one, which costs money.
Yeah.
This policy, in I would say about 95% of our clients, once they determine where it is that they want to go, this company will have money sent to that facility within 60 minutes in most instances, once they decide who they want to go with. That's big, and that's without a death certificate. So that's a big deal when families got to come up with a large amount of
Is
cash.
that just for the final expense?
That's for Lincoln Heritage final expense. There's other insurance companies that offer final, or what they call burial coverage or final expense, but it's really just traditional life insurance. They're just small traditional life insurance where where the beneficiaries have to submit a death certificate initially before, and then it can take 3 to 6 weeks or longer in some instances before the families will get a check. That doesn't help families that need to pay the funeral home. So now what happens is, when you don't have money immediately to pay the funeral home, the funeral home is going to ask you, did the deceased have an insurance policy? And if you don't know what you're doing, you'll be like, oh, yeah. My mama, she had a $25,000 life insurance policy. Well, if you don't have access to cash, they're gonna ask you. You
for
have
the
to
policy.
do what's called an assignment of that insurance policy, and a lot of times
They,
most people don't know the process of arranging a funeral. So they'll turn the policy over to the funeral director. And I'm not saying all funeral directors are like this, but in many instances, you go in there with a $25,000 policy, they're gonna sell you a $25,000,
Right.
yeah,
And they willing.
they
service.
checking them
Where
boxes off.
and right, and most of the money, you taking that money out to leave behind for your loved one, they're not gonna see it. And when you assign your policy over to a funeral home, there's what's called an assignment fee. That's interest because a lot of times the funeral home, they have what's called a third party payer. So when you don't have cash and you assign the policy over, the third party payer pays the funeral home. They're now in control of the policy. Your family loses control of the policy. Life insurance company's not dealing with you anymore. They're going to deal with the funeral home. So you lose control of the policy, but also the third party payer now is waiting on the insurance company to pay them.
Yeah.
And so you're going to pay anywhere from about 5 to 15%, depending on where you go. And what
Interest.
region of the country you're in
Sheesh.
interest. So now, not only did they take your $25,000, there's
You
more
owe
on
them.
top of it. Right.
You know, one of the biggest things I really wanted to sit down with you and get clarity, not just for me, for I think a lot of people like me out there that will be watching, is, and it's kind of like we about to like start over again, right? What is a life insurance policy supposed to do for a family?
That's a good question. That's a really good question. And um, the simple answer is the purpose of life insurance is to reassign risk, right?
Meaning what?
Meaning you're paying for the life insurance company to assign your risk of dying, risk of your house burning down if you have mortgage insurance, or so you're giving them the ability to purchase your risk. Okay. So for instance, like life insurance, they have what's called actuaries, or people that actually go to school. They study statistics of how long we live, the actual age groups and health conditions that will and they put you in categories based on that, like your racial demographics, things like that. So they kind of have an idea of how long you're gonna live. If you're a smoker, that's why your rate is higher, because smoking is associated with dying earlier, things like that, right? And so because you're paying a small amount of money for a greater amount of money. And so what does that mean? That means insurance is a financial instrument. Okay? So what you're talking about is leverage. And when I talk to clients, when they're asking me, why am I paying this, for this amount of money? Okay, when they say, oh, well, I could just put that money away, or I could save it in a bank. If you could have done that, you would have already done that, first of all. Number two, you're leveraging the insurance company's money. That's what we're talking about. And that's why that's why insurance is important. It's leverage. You're paying, under $100 to get 10, 15, 20,000. If you're a young person and you're thinking about starting a business, or you are a young couple with young children, you have a breadwinner, you're paying maybe $200 a month to get $500,000 should something happen to the breadwinner. That family is now, if something happens to them, for that $200 a month, if something happens to them, they now have replacement of income. And so that's a different type of life insurance. That's typically called term life insurance, or temporary. And so that's usually for young people. Am I good? Oh, okay. That is typically for younger people. Term insurance is what is called temporary insurance, but typically it's for young people with young families. They may have a mortgage. They have young children that are in school. Again, you have a breadwinner, so you need a large amount of money if something happens to them.
I'm glad you. I'm glad. Go.
I just had a quick question, like, what are the qualifications? Is there anything that can stop you from getting it, like certain illnesses
Yes,
and things like
yes, yes. So, typically though, if you're young, unless you have something like HIV or something life threatening like cancer, you're terminal, something like that, that can preclude you. If you have a history of, um, like I said, some sort of chronic illness like asthma, or diabetes. And it's not just diabetes alone. I have plenty of clients who have diabetes. But when your diabetes is out of control, they can see what kind of medications and things you're on to help determine what your risk level is. You understand what I'm saying? Same thing like with asthma. Is it just, seasonal allergies, or, they can tell. They'll do a prescription history. They will, a lot of times, they'll go into the Medical Information Bureau, you know, to see your diagnoses and see what kind of medications and things you're on, how these things are being managed. And then they can come back. A lot of times we can do what's called a risk assessment. And so we can kind of look in your background before we'll recommend something to you. But most people are qualified to get life insurance. Most anybody can get life insurance. The younger you are, I want to make this to the listening and viewing audience. When you're young, that's when you want to get life insurance, because you're talking about a little bit of money for a lot of money, right? That's number one. But also, there's so many products now for young people, depending on what your goals are. There's what's called, I know y'all hear a lot about, the hot thing now is IULs, or Index Universal Life. Those are, more or less like investment and savings types
When you
of
say young people, what's the age limit for young people?
young people, meaning parents that just had a baby, a newborn. That's a product for you that you need to contact me to talk about setting up your baby's future. By the time they're 18, 20 years old, they can have a nest egg already established by the parents.
Would that be with term life insurance or like whole life
It
insurance?
depends. It depends on what the goals are, for the parent. Like, what do they
Because
want?
I heard that, like, I don't know if does term life insurance ever have a cash value, or is that just,
That's yes. Some
yeah, I
of the
didn't know
products
that.
that we sell, that we do have term products that, depending on what the client's needs are, whatever their goal is, we can set up something where it has a cash value, or, like I said, Index Universal Life. Again, that is a term product, but um, we can set depending on the way you structure it. Primarily, Index Universal Life is not the star of that show. Is not the death benefit. It's the savings portion of it, because it's growing between 4, 7, 10%.
Is it true that you can open up a life insurance policy on someone without them knowing?
That's called fraud. That's called fraud.
How? If you open up a life insurance on a baby, that's yours, and
No,
the
no,
baby
no,
did.
no, no, no. But that's something different.
You're their
That's
guardian,
a minor.
though.
You're their parent. That's different. If you're talking about, I'm gonna open up a life insurance policy on my ex girlfriend, and she don't know nothing about that. That's
Okay, so
called fraud.
that's why I asked, because I was under the impression, I think someone said it or I seen it, that you can do that, and the only way that you um would have to let them know if they was 55 and over.
That's called fraud, baby.
Okay.
We're not gonna talk about that. We're gonna talk about good things here
No,
today,
no, you
right?
got no, you no. The reason I asked record labels also, you sign to a record label, they open up a life insurance
But
policy
that's
on
right
you.
there in your contract.
It may be.
There's
I
a
wouldn't
death
know,
clause
but
or some sort of clause
So
that's
that
in that.
protection is that like protection for their investment?
Um,
Like if something happened to you, they still get to
that
recoup.
absolutely,
that's the going
absolutely.
theory. That you understand what I'm saying,
Yeah.
right? That's what they tell you. Um, but yeah, people under those types of people understand they have a thorough understanding of what insurance is. Um, there's a book called "What Would Rockefeller Do?" Excellent book for young people or entrepreneurs, um, people trying to understand how money works. And that's one of the areas that um, when I'm talking to other clients that are looking to build wealth, those are things that they understand, and they're looking for people who understand that. The two biggest industries in this country revolve around money. That's insurance and banking.
So if you
And
have a, do your life insurance policy grow? See, I had one for 20 years, and I started where I started at or something. Does it grow and become larger, or you're upping up your policy, you're changing the
it
policy as you
depends.
go?
If you have a whole life policy, whole life accumulates cash value. Also, you could structure whole life or certain term products where when you pass away, your beneficiary can either get the death benefit or the cash value, or you can set it up where my beneficiary is going to get the death benefit and the cash value. So it just depends again on the goals. What is this person trying to achieve? What is their goal?
All right, so help me. Can you give me clarity on it? So I met a guy um years ago who his wife was an agent as well, and what he said to me, I ain't gonna lie, it messed me up for life insurance. I think this is why I be on the edge on how things should go or supposed to be. Like, and I may not have the real understanding. So it made sense what he was saying because he was one of my kind, explaining to me something that I had no knowledge of.
Right.
So what he was saying to me was, there's no policy, and that's where I want your clarity at. There's no policy for $20 a month, and you get 10 grand back. What he explained to me was, there's no there's not a policy like that. That's not what a life insurance policy is. A life insurance policy is supposed to help you go through life, not just bury your family and that's it. Even though we have these communities that this is what we can afford. So what he was explaining that some agents possibly can do is undercut a policy to where, okay, you're paying me $20 a month for 10 grand. Let's just say the numbers 10 grand. But the policy, and that's why I asked the question: can you open up a policy on someone? Because okay, if I'm paying you $20 a month for $10,000, if something happened to one of me or my loved ones, that it's possible that the policy you opened is for 500,000, and you're paying the other 70, $80 out your own pocket when you say the 200. You know how you were saying 200 gets you 500,000. So
Right.
let's just say you go into these low budget, not low, these urban communities where the risk is higher, that you could pay the remaining of a policy. So when a person die, all I get is all you would give me is 10 grand, which is our contract. But behind the scenes, a
It's a
bigger
bigger.
policy was in place that you recoup the money from. And this is what he was saying. Like, happens. His wife does this. Like, and it just made me look at it different, which goes back to what I was saying. Like,
I'm not aware of that. And again, you know, the purpose of insurance, again, is it's about leverage, and these can be, wealth building vehicles when structured properly. I again, in the scenario that you're speaking to, that can possibly be fraudulent activity because in most instances you cannot just take out $200,000, on somebody. Even husbands and wives. I mean, we looked at Snapped all the time, right? And you see these people like, oh, they off their partner, essentially for the death benefit. Partner had no idea about it, or inevitably they end up not getting the money, but because it's now a murder investigation. But um, I guess you can say there are instances where people can do some things,
I mean, and
sign some names,
that's kind of how he was explaining
and
to me.
take out a life insurance policy. But again, that's not the direction that we want to go in, right? That's not,
No, this is just stuff that I have to speak about. Speaking on, like having somebody here that could give me some type of clarity in it. I could tell you why I be hesitant to deal with stuff. It's like when people plant seeds and give you information, and you have a little bit of the information, and then you have somebody that's going to come and give you all the information, and whether you know it or not, you don't want nobody playing with your mental. And I think that's where I'm at, like just me. Like I said, when this guy who's told me this information, he didn't have no reason to not tell me or to tell me. He was just speaking on the possibilities
so a
of.
lot of times now too with insurance agencies, when you're talking about large amounts like that, you have to do what's called like telephone interviews and things like that. They have safeguards in place to make sure that you know these type of policies are um, they're not fraudulent and that they're legitimate.
Right, and just to add to what I'm saying, the way that he explained it to me, like say you had a rental property, and you rented that property to me for $2,000 a month, and I subleased it to him for $2,700 a month. Like that, it's a legal contract. Like I wrote the contract.
Unless, of course, in your lease it says specifically there's no sub.
Right, correct,
Yeah.
correct. But that was the way that he explained it to
Yeah,
me.
that is not something that is transparent. There are legal implications behind that, big legal implications behind that. People go to jail for that. But we just want to make sure that primarily our communities, our families know and have access to professionals like myself who can sit down with them, explain to them, what it is, what they may need, help assist them in, achieving whatever goals that they have set forth, either for themselves, their children, their families. Primarily at the end of the day, that's what we're talking about is helping to establish wealth building principles, better financial principles, you know, um, and just starting the process of leaving a new set of traditions
Right.
behind for our families. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely.
When it comes like from the beginning when they're born, having things in place for them, even if it's just $20 or $25 a month for your little one. Do that because it will grow.
And it's
okay?
sad. It's sad that some like I said, in our community, was becoming normal. A person don't have life insurance. They die now. They throwing this fish fry, trying to sell food, trying to sell stuff.
GoFundMe.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you.
GoFundMe is
How you
not
feel about
insurance,
GoFundMe?
family.
It's not.
GoFundMe's not insurance.
It's not.
And it's not the church's responsibility to take care of everything for you. You can call me, okay?
I know
My
some.
number
I don't know.
is-
People.
Can I give my number?
No, we.
Oh, okay, okay.
You got an Instagram or a page or something that like,
I do.
we'll
And-
put it on the screen for you. But
Okay.
and they
Okay.
could contact that and get your
Yeah.
information.
Contact
Yeah,
Or we can put your
These
number. Just give it to
if
me.
you
If
open
want
to
your phone
anybody
number on
calling
there,
you,
Yeah,
Yeah,
'cause,
well, I'm licensed in Jersey, Delaware, Maryland, D.C., Virginia,
I don't know. People
North
might not be
Carolina,
calling you for
South
insurance.
Carolina, and Georgia.
yeah, people might.
People might be trying to see what type, what they really want to see when they call you.
They might be trying to holler at you. You don't want to just put your number out.
I get that all day, every day.
You don't want to just throw your number on the screen, Tam.
I'm used to that. I get that all day, every day.
Yeah, okay. Well, we're going to put a number up there, y'all. You know what I'm saying? Serious inquiries only. We'll put that out there now.
No, but I'm more than happy, to help educate my community, help my families, help my people just become more knowledgeable about these things. Because I'm going to tell you, you just said that, it's a shame that in our community, we don't have life insurance. Well, guess what? Our grandparents and great-grandparents, they had life insurance. They believed in life. It's this generation. It's the more recent generations that somewhere along the line, there was a disconnect between having it, why it's important. But we're coming back together. We're closing that gap. We're doing that today, right?
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie. Seeing all them GoFundMe's had me feeling like, man, I don't want my people to have to go through that.
It's embarrassing.
It's embarrassing. I was ready to say the same thing. It's really
I mean,
embarrassing.
I have life insurance. It's through my job and through my bank, so I really don't know much about it, but I know it's there. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if it ends if I don't work there no more, or in any of that.
It will. That most job policy. And the other thing too about life insurance through your employer, a lot of times it takes a long time. I just had someone very special to me pass away last summer, and his life insurance, I believe, still hasn't paid out, and he died in June.
Yeah.
So that's most life insurance that you get through your job. I'm not saying it's bad. You have it because it's part of a group term policy. Term meaning temporary, right? So when you leave, it's not transferable, okay? In most instances. And then also, even if you're still there and something happens to you, that if something were to happen to you today, that money's not going to be available tomorrow. That's why families need a final expense policy through Lincoln Heritage, and because it pays within 24 hours. That is the difference.
Another thing is, man, you know the youth out there, our young brothers, young sisters, people in general, man. We especially being, I keep saying that because it means something to me. Like growing up in these communities that we grow up in, we subject ourselves to a lot of risk, and we don't have stuff in place, and we leave. And I say we because I'm in the same boat. I don't have my policies and stuff together yet. But we're
gonna take care of that today.
Yeah, we're gonna get
Don't
that.
worry.
We're gonna get that right. But the risk that we take and the burden we leave on other people. So all you guys out there sliding and creating problems and ops and all this stuff, and y'all don't got y'all shit together, you leaving it for somebody else to deal with.
And that's not cool.
And I would say I would be one of the ones, the guys that, not flaunt money, but show a lot of materialistic things. We show all this stuff. We boast, we brag at times, and don't have a policy in place. It's time for us to grow up, man.
So to that point, A.J. Johnson, Ezel from the Friday movies, passed away a couple of years ago, right? No life insurance. They on GoFundMe. Trying to.
Now it's not illegal for somebody to open up a GoFundMe for another person.
But to your point,
right?
Like,
I don't think so.
You think these people that have all this money or these careers and things like that, and they don't have these things in place. Look what happened with y'all remember Grandma Holla? The lady that used to she was on YouTube. Yes, the TikTok.
The older lady be cussing everybody out.
Yes. Look what happened with her family. They were on GoFundMe. There was a GoFundMe for her.
See, but I also noticed that even with GoFundMes, right? This is just my personal belief. Just because somebody make a GoFundMe or have a fish fry or try to receive some other money don't necessarily mean they
Their
need it.
family.
They just willing to take a handout
Capitalizing off
and
of it.
capitalize off other people. That's another thing. That's the only thing about GoFundMe to me. Like you ain't gonna see me make one. Like I just think it's.
But that's why a lot of people don't. They a lot of times, they're hesitant to contribute because these are things that's our responsibility to take care of. That's part of
And
adulting.
people be scamming.
and people scam.
a lot of people. Yeah, that's a fact.
That's true.
Man, anything we didn't cover?
I was gonna ask, like, what's the like for somebody, say my age, like 30 to
30 what?
45. I'm giving a gap. like, what,
I thought you were just saying
kinda-
30, cuz. Like,
What would be the best? What would you recommend somebody in that age range?
What you trying to do? Are you trying to?
I need my
save
kids
money,
to be rich when I go.
You need your kids to be rich.
Yeah.
Okay. What kind of budget are we talking about?
see, that's the crazy part. Like, even when down, you got to talk money.
got to pay.
You got to pay that money.
Costs
and we
money
can
to
do
die.
it because we pay.
Because we can go from.
I need a $10 million policy.
Okay,
I got
we go up to
$10 a
five.
month.
No, baby. Yeah. No, honey.
That's enough to
Yeah.
get buried. That's it. That ain't even.
That's not even enough to get buried.
See, $10 a month won't get you in the ground.
But we do have plans that can start at $15 a month that will help get you not buried, but cremated and perhaps a memorial.
Nah, I can't get cremated. I need my body.
But depending
need
on
my body.
again,
Yeah, bro, if it's a zombie apocalypse, I ain't trying to be in a can. I need my body to come back.
All right, man. This
People
dude
gotta
is
see
crazy.
me.
Nah, but yeah, that's.
But realistically speaking, how many kids you have?
I got
One of some
got-
possible.
I got like 4.
Okay. All right.
That's dope.
Maybe 5.
And are you looking to you're looking obviously to leave money behind for them, like some sort of little inheritance or
Yeah.
something you looking to set them up when your time comes, right? So I mean, typically I would have I'm gonna have a consultation with you. I'm gonna see what what your realistic goals are. There's some other questions that I do need to ask you about your health and all of that, what you do for a living. But yeah, you're looking at about, I would say, I mean, our policies go up to $5 million. Now, obviously, that's not, $100 a month or whatever, that you're talking about some money because
How much
you know,
money?
you're looking
For that
at,
$5 million.
depending on how old you are, you're looking at least $1,500 a month
Right.
or more, depending
For
on
that type of policy.
yeah, or more. But the more interesting thing is you can actually grow that with a different type of policy. Okay.
And you can open up multiple policies, right?
Yes.
So
You
even
can
if
have
it was
multiple
like
policies. You can
100,000 policies.
Yeah, I got like 3 policies right now.
Mm-hmm.
2 of them like 100,000 and one of them like 25.
Yeah, but you like you said, those are through your bank, right? So is that like just accidental only? Because a lot of times that's another reason why, I would like people to reach out and contact us because it doesn't cost anything for someone to actually review what you have to make sure that you understand what you have. A lot of times I see people, oh my God, Tamela, I have this $100,000 and then I look at it and it's accidental only. So now what happens if you don't die as a result of an accident?
Well, like a car
Right.
accident or like a fall or some shit
Accident
like
is
that.
anything outside of a health condition. So you walked outside, a tree limb fell on your head, that's an accident.
Yeah, knock
You
on
was
wood,
hanging
Tamela.
out. You was
Knock on wood, man. That's my first cousin.
that has happened. So I've had a couple of clients. They're walking down the street. They tripped over, an uneven curb or whatever, fell, banged their head. They're no longer with us. God rest their soul. Their families done collected, $40,000, $50,000 because it was an accident. You understand? In addition to, the regular face value of the policy. So it's important for you to have someone review what you have. Also, like I said, job policies, great. They are part of what's called a group term insurance because you're part of a group. But when you leave, most instances you don't have any coverage left. Or even if you do have a job policy, you still need someone to review those policies because now sometimes these jobs have little sneaky clauses that if you're not sitting at your desk at between this hour and that hour and you're not sitting right at your desk and drop dead, they don't have to pay. So you need someone to review these types of things. Okay.
Definitely do.
I think you've been an amazing help today.
Aw,
I
thank
think
you.
I appreciate you coming the distance you have came to sit down and talk with
You're
us.
welcome.
I pray and hope that you guys, as well as myself, reach out to her, get something in place, so y'all not sitting there trying to fry a bunch of fish and still don't have
Chicken-
enough money
chicken
and chicken
dinners.
dinners and stuff like that.
And chicken and fish cost more now. That shit expensive.
Exactly.
Right,
Exactly.
Ain't nothing cheap.
If you could get this in place now by reaching out to Tamela, she'll guide you through. Like I said, I already had an experience with her to where, like I said in the beginning, for me, I was skeptical, but I can honestly tell you if I had to deal with it again, I wouldn't ask no questions. Everything that she said was supposed to happen, happened. When the money was supposed to be released, helping pay, and it was like 2 policies in place. I want to say with my grandfather,
He actually had 3 policies.
he actually had 5. I had to
Okay.
deal with 2 other
Okay,
companies
great.
that was outside of
See,
Lincoln. But like I
that
said,
older generation, they
he had
believed
5.
in.
I had to deal with 2 other companies that wasn't Lincoln. But
Yeah.
man, I really recommend y'all to get in touch with her.
Definitely.
Help her, and she'll very down to earth, very upfront, very transparent. She's gonna explain to you everything that you need. Like I said, she explained everything my grandfather needed, wanted, documented, and made it happen. And this is why I still, reach out to her and
still
talk to
rock.
her.
We
We
still
still
rock.
rock.
And she's in the loop.
And she
We
now
still
in the
rock.
loop.
And
Thank
she's
you,
in
I'm in
the
the
Tam.
loop.
In the
I'm
loop.
in the loop, y'all.
That was good.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.